Greg, what the heck is a LUN?
LUN that stands for logical unit. It's basically a disk. But in this context, it's going to be a virtual disk running on some sort of hypervisor. So that's going to be ESXi or Hyper-V. It's basically, there's a lot of other NAS applications that'll basically are going to be exposing a file on a file system as a disk to something. So to the machine that it's accessing the file, it looks exactly like a disk, but it's not a physical disk, it's a file on some big expensive server. Is that right? iSCSI, that's a very common way of explaining.
What's an iSCSI, Greg?
iSCSI is basically talking SCSI over the internet. So instead of talking, SCSI is just a command set, and it's also a physical. SCSI is basically a way of talking to storage devices. And that can be to a directly attached disk over your SCSI port or SATA port on your motherboard, or it can be over the internet. And the beauty is that that disk is stored and hopefully backed up and all sorts of good redundancy stuff on a server that's far away, but to the local operating system, it appears just as a disk that was connected, plugged into the motherboard.
And our customers don't have that luxury, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're watching this, it's usually because, and especially if you're watching this part where we're talking about iSCSIs, it's usually because there's actually a SAN
Mm-hmm.
or a very high-end NAS, and it has a whole bunch of storage, and it's carving out chunks of it, and it's then feeding a hypervisor or feeding some other operating system. And the mechanism for doing that is it creates these individual files, usually on like a Linux file system. Don't pick that up. And sometimes somebody pushed the wrong button on a console and deleted it. And then the phone started ringing off the freaking hook, and 43 people were wondering,
where's the company share?
Where'd my company share go? Why did my CRM start working? And then the IT guy's like, what button did I just push? And then it usually freaks out big time.
Oh no, that wasn't the test environment, that was the production environment.
Yeah, and then he goes to the backup and realizes that a third of those systems haven't been backed up in 6 months, and then he calls us, starts watching YouTube videos, and well, long story short, if you're in that situation, very, very difficult to estimate pricing, very, very difficult to estimate feasibility. These cases traditionally will take dozens of hours of computer scientists. So you can kind of safely say that if you've deleted a LUN that was feeding a hypervisor, I can kind of safely tell you that you're probably looking at like a low 5 figures at kind of a minimum, because you're probably going to rent a big brain guy like Greg for a week, or more sometimes. It's a really bad situation. You'll probably end up talking with one of us, or maybe Nathan or MJ or somebody else on that type of team before you send it in here, but certainly that's not going to be the kind of thing where we can give super accurate pricing on a YouTube video. You're just going to have to pick up the phone and give us a ring. So in general, I think it's safe to say that we prefer when equipment's broken.
Yes.
Because it's usually cheaper and easier to fix equipment and get perfect data than it is to take perfectly healthy equipment.
Try to undo some very destructive operation.
Yeah. And again, if you're wondering, can Gill help me? What is this going to cost? The very best way, pick up the phone, call the recovery advisory team.
Call now.
Call now. Call the recovery advisory team. They're very friendly. You're not going to get any kind of hard sell or anything. They're going to listen to your story, try to give you as little of this mumbo jumbo as they can, with at the same time trying to give you as accurate idea of pricing and feasibility as they possibly can over the phone. So we're here to help, and thanks for watching.
Feel free to give us a call. One of our client advisors would be happy to talk about your specific situation and figure out how we can best help you.